Jefferson, what a move! Tim Duncan from three-point line!
You're only half happy, or
Still to be happy about.
you're up 2-0?
Job's not finished.
Brings the crowd to its feet with a big smile. And the Lakers are the 2000 NBA champions.
The only thing anybody actually knows about the 2004 Pistons championship is that they won it in a spectacular upset of the Lakers dynasty, effectively putting it to an end. Because they did so in 5 short games and nobody thinks about the mid-2000s Eastern Conference, this specific Pistons team has become somewhat of a fairy tale, almost as if they didn't have to go through their fair share of adversity. They just popped up, ended a dynasty, and etched themselves into NBA history as one of the greatest defensive teams of all time. Also as one of the only championship teams to ever have won without a superstar player. But the story about how almost none of this ever happened is rarely ever told. As a matter of fact, it's not even acknowledged because, well, A, history is written by the victors, and B, it's the early 2000s New Jersey Nets. Nobody outside of New Jersey cares about the early 2000s New Jersey Nets. And possibly kids who were using Jason Kidd back in NBA Live. However, throw it back to 2004 and the Nets were coming dangerously close to representing the East for a 3rd straight season. In 2002, they'd made the finals the first time to be obliterated by the Lakers three-peating. In 03, it wasn't much better as they met Tim Duncan, who had one of the greatest final series of all time. And here we are in 04's second round, where the Nets are battling the Pistons, and with any luck, if they can make it this 3rd time, the Lakers and Spurs will have taken one of the other out, and maybe, just maybe, MVP Kevin Garnett will be able to lift his team past that winner, meaning the Nets would have the ever so slight opportunity of making the 3rd time a charm. For now, a rematch of the 2003 conference finals in this year's semifinals. The Nets have all the swagger of an Eastern Conference champion, as again they've been there the last 2 times, but in the most recent year they'd swept the Detroit Pistons on the way to the NBA Finals. Of course, they've much improved since then as they've added Rasheed Wallace, and are clearly moving different, winning both games 1 and 2 by double digits, in game 1 holding the Nets to 56 points. The series shifts to New Jersey, and in typical scripted fashion, the series swings back to the home team. The Nets win both by double digits. We're now set up for the epic Game 5, where the winner typically goes on to win the series. The typical winner of home games so far is the home team. Not only that, but so far the away team has not even managed to make a competitive game out of these. Well, that script is completely flipped, as with 11.6 seconds left in the game, Nets leading by 2, Jason Kidd is at the line with the opportunity to all but seal this victory, taking them back home, where, given the trend of their playoff performances so far, they will likely advance to the Eastern Conference Finals for a 3rd straight year.
And since then, the Nets have outscored Detroit 7-1 pending these free throws.
It's off from the all-star point guard, who in this year is shooting the 2nd best mark of his career from the free throw line. At this specific moment, no matter what happens, as long as Detroit gets the rebound, they're at least going to have the opportunity to tie.
If Kidd makes it for a 3 to tie the game. He misses both.
Missed both of them. They got to go. Gets up and going to the basket.
87-85. And Phillips, what a block! Blocked by Richard Jefferson with 2.9. And now Sean Coleman raises his hand. There's a foul.
There's a foul
And a foul on Detroit, and the Nets look like they're going to hold on.
We've never stopped seeing Tayshaun Prince block. Most of us bore witness to being blocked by James, and it's been plastered everywhere for the last 5 years. But blocked by Jefferson. That's a new one. I'm not sure I've ever seen this highlight on NBA TV. Exactly 2 YouTube clips of it exist, and up to now it's been relatively buried in NBA history, likely because of what happens next. See, when Tayshaun did it, the Pistons went to the NBA Finals. When LeBron did it, they won the NBA Finals. Up to preparing to shoot free throws with 3 seconds left and the Pistons out of timeouts, it would take nothing short of an absolute miracle for the Pistons to even have a chance to send this to OT. To make matters worse, the team that swept them last year has now taken complete control of the series with the first away win, by virtue of a soul-crushing play that could swing the entire momentum of the series. The grin on RJ's face said it all. The Nets now only needed 1 to make this impossible.
Is that he went up in the air and avoided putting his body on it and reached over and blocked the shot.
3 consecutively missed free throws in the clutch. Simple fundamentals to put a stranglehold on the series.
All right, 2.9, come on.
Anything is possible. And the lead is 88-85.
Get a 3 up.
Pistons need a 3, and they have just under 3 seconds to do it. Here's Chauncey Billups. Here it is. He's got it. He's got it. Chauncey Billups hits the 3. Overtime. Amazing.
that is precisely why we've never seen RJ's block. It was spectacular. It was supposed to be the play that said we're still here. We still own this. You, as Detroit, aren't ready to take this crown yet. But here they were, by virtue of Mr. Big Shot. It wasn't some cliche, he didn't earn that name for nothing. The Pistons had successfully averted crisis for 3 more overtimes, around 40-something points later, and the Nets have somehow successfully walked out of the Palace with a 3-2 lead, 127 to 120. It's difficult to decipher which defeat would have been more soul-crushing, losing to the infamous chase-down block that wasn't even a signature move yet, or exhausting yourself through 3 overtimes of a Game 5 where the loser rarely ever came out on top of the series. In any case, the Nets had officially become the only team to win the away game, and all indications pointed to them going back to New Jersey to wrap this one up. It's now quarter 4 of Game 6 and the second straight close game of what had mostly been blowouts up to Game 5. The Pistons are in clear control going down the stretch, but New Jersey is beating down the door. Piece by piece, they're cutting into this lead, inch by inch roping themselves back into the game. And by the time the Nets have it within 2, there'd been a field goal drought that lasted longer than 4 minutes. The Pistons themselves hadn't hit a field goal since around the 6-minute mark of the 4th quarter. They're clearly exhausted from the last battle, but hanging on by threads with their defense, knowing that if New Jersey is to take the lead with this home court advantage backing them, it'll likely spell the end. We're now down to a minute and a half where nobody scored on anything other than free throws. There's dead legs all over the court, intense battles for rebounds, bumping and banging down low, a defensive battle of the likes you would have expected from the 2004 Pistons. That's when the Nets have got the break they've finally been waiting on. RJ is questionably fouled and sent to the line where he can cut this to 1. Meanwhile, Detroit is still starving for a basket with no idea where the next points are coming from. Once again, simple fundamentals to bring the Nets that much closer to glory.
7 points for the series in fast break points.
Well, that's their game, and Richard Jefferson did the smart thing. Instead of shooting the jump shot, get to the foul line, he does miss the free throw, and that's what happens. Fatigue and pressure, you start missing free throws, but
unbelievable. But maybe not so much. As mentioned before, dead legs.
You feel very good that you can win that game. It's upwards 20s when you get in trouble.
Jefferson gets it.
Oof, close one. You could just feel everyone on edge in the crowd. 2-point game, but at least if Detroit does find a way to scrounge up some points, the game won't be completely over. Detroit puts out a set running Jason Kidd rampant. On a tough shooting night, he's using every bit of what he has left to make sure Rip Hamilton doesn't get open off the screen. He does a great job sticking with him, but here comes Sheed with a pin down that Kidd absolutely cannot get over. The Pistons have forced a switch. Sheed doesn't even think about letting a double come. Bottom. With 1 minute and 2 seconds left after nearly 5 minutes without a field goal, the Pistons have found points and, in all likelihood, just saved their playoff existence. On the other end, Detroit uses their defense to force an exhausting possession. The Nets do eventually score, but not before running the clock down to the mid-30s, where if the Pistons can scrounge up just 2 more, this one is probably over. They once again make Jason Kidd work, and after going minutes without being able to hit the side of a barn, they suddenly can't miss.
No fouls to give either way. Hamilton with Kidd bumping on it. Richard Hamilton with a big-time shot.
Rip Hamilton, leaving 15 seconds on the clock, has probably hit the toughest shot he's taken this quarter. Detroit by 4. And in best case scenario for the Nets, they are now in the same situation the Pistons were in at the end of Game 5. Unfortunately for New Jersey, Mr. Big Shot is taking the big shots. Once again, no chances for a half-court shot in this one. After suffering one of the most gut-wrenching defeats in Game 5, and being stretched to the absolute limits of their abilities in Game 6, Detroit has survive. In terms of game situation, there's officially nothing left any team in this playoff bracket can throw at them that they hadn't already seen. They take this back to the Palace and predictably close out the series by 21 points. They've officially removed the crown and are ready to place it atop their own heads after they remove a few more crowns. They'll go on to face the Indiana Pacers, who were in the finals a mere 4 years ago, and the dynasty Lakers, looking to win a 4th title in 5 years. These are the trials and tribulations of the 04 Pistons, but you only ever hear about the final one. If they had folded after everything they went through in Game 5, if the ball bounced a different way just a couple of more times in Game 6, you'd have never heard of the 04 Pistons. They may have been relegated to one of those great what-if teams you only find if you pick up a book, but they wrote their own story, and for that, NBA history is forever grateful. I'm gonna completely ruin the tension here for an aside because somebody just so happened to drop this in the Discord as I was making this video. These are the team predictions for 2004 by various analysts. Take a look at the East Finals and the actual NBA Finals. Exactly one analyst had the Pistons even being in the conference finals. Of course, Detroit did not even have Rasheed Wallace until around February. That probably would have changed some things. However, it is still interesting to see how everybody had the Nets either in the East Finals or in the NBA Finals. As a matter of fact, yeah, here again, it was only the Pacers and like one Pistons vote for the finals. finals. So fascinating stuff. We all look at the 04 Pistons as some flawless victory when it seems like most people were expecting the Nets to be there. And boy, were they ever so close.